I forgot to mention that bit. So we're now live, and there's nobody watching us right now, which is usually the case at this.
Yeah, I know. It takes a while.
Yeah. So, good morning. It's 3:32. Welcome to Friday with Friends and my wonderful guest, Kim Weitkamp. I should be doing that, shouldn't I? 'Cause I'm
Wait, wrong way.
That's right. It is. It's all backwards. I've been doing this for long enough to realize to know. So Kim is an amazing storyteller and also musician. I didn't want that. I wanted to get rid of that. Go away. There we go. And you can tell I took a week off and I can't remember what I'm doing anymore. She's a marvelous storyteller and a really good musician. And she performs. Do you travel all over the world telling your stories, or is it mostly America?
It's mostly America.
Yeah.
Yeah. The furthest I've gotten with my stories is Canada. I love Canada. I've done shows all around Canada.
Yeah, I'd like to get up there.
Yay, Canadians!
Yes, we like Canadians. They're reasonable people.
They are.
It's so bloody cold up there.
It is beautiful. I taught a workshop up there, and I remember I was teaching the art of personal stories. That's why they brought me, because they found it fascinating that how Americans tell so many personal stories, because Canadians don't talk so freely about themselves.
I know. Yeah. It's only Americans talk about themselves as freely as they do. It's a very American thing.
It's so American.
It is.
And we have to have everybody like us. The French don't care. The French are
Yeah.
like, I don't care if you like me, it's okay. And we work so hard to make everybody like us, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that was when I first came out here. I lived on the West Coast in Oregon, and everyone was like super nice. But it was all of our friends were actually from other places in the country, and most of them on the East Coast. And then when I moved to the East Coast, when my wife and I moved to the East Coast, we were very much like, I like these people. If they don't like you, they tell you. And I'm okay with that, because I'd rather know than think that I've got friends who aren't really friends. And it's
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Kim, can you turn your volume up a little bit? Settings again. Thank you,
Okay.
Rachel.
Hi,
So it's
Rachel.
the little cog, and then audio, and then just drag that blue line
Is
over
that
to the right. Say something again.
better? Is that better?
A bit more. Move it up a bit more.
More?
Yeah. Have you got a soft focus filter on you, or do you just look that good?
No. Trust me. There's no lighting. This is straight out of bed, my friend. I'm not kidding. Yeah. You know it too.
I do.
I
My
actually.
wife has
Okay.
my wife has a similar thing with allergy pills. She'll take one in the evening if her allergies are up, and she's like, "This is a really good movie."
I took an allergy pill last night at like 11. What was I thinking? Because I literally rolled out of bed and I'm screaming, make me coffee. And he's
Cheers, Kim.
cheers. I was born and raised on the East Coast in Lancaster, Pennsylvania area.
I like pencil.
And when you live there, when people are sarcastically rude to you, it usually means they like you.
Right.
If they're not sarcastically rude to you, they're being polite, which means they don't like you. Then I slid south, and I lived right above the Tennessee line. Did a lot of work below that line. Lived in North Carolina for a stint. And everybody, I remember when I first, I moved there with using sarcasm, and people would look at me like, how rude, because they're all polite, right?
Right.
And I'm thinking, okay, I can't show northern love here. I have to be polite. Well, what I've learned is up north, they will just tell you straight out how they're feeling, even if through sarcastic humor. Down south, they will be polite, and then when they serve you tea, put poison in it. So, I mean, it's very interesting, the different parts of the United States, how people interact, right? I want to look at
It
you.
is.
I don't want to look at the camera. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine. I kind of like to. So if I'm talking to you, I'll look at the camera, and then if I'm listening, and I tend to drop down and look at the picture, so I'm actually looking at you.
Oh,
Which is,
good.
you know, it's just me. Do whatever you want to do. It's Friday with friends. It's just a chit
It's
chat.
Friday,
It's all good.
friends. Just a chitty chat.
It
Just a
is. It is.
chat.
Yeah, in England, it's the same too. There are certain parts of England that are very closed-mouthed about themselves and very private, and then there are other places that are very more open. And it's interesting that there are pockets of people that are raised in that way as a community, and we're all. And you find that out when you go performing as well. You drop a bit of sarcasm in, and it's like, oops, let's not do that again. You just get these
Yeah.
deadpan faces back.
When I do a gig, I always, well, it used to be I'd get a newspaper, right? And I would read the news because you can tell a lot about a community's way of talking and sharing and communicating through their newspaper.
I'd never thought of that.
Oh yeah. And so I would get the newspaper and I like the minute I hit town, I would stop somewhere, usually get a couple iced teas to keep in my room or a Starbucks jar of whatever that is that they put in there
Uh-huh.
and a newspaper. And then you not only learn how a community communicates, kind of their
Mhm.
language, but you can also pick up some great news items and I'll weave those into my stuff. Like, da 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 da
That's a
da da
good
da
idea.
da da, like blank, 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 and they'll all laugh because it's a community thing.
Yeah.
Like a big deal that's going on, or even a senator that's having an issue. He ran faster than Senator blank, da 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 da, and everybody will laugh. And so the newspaper is a phenomenal way to not only get some free material, but to kind of learn their language and see what's important
Well, you also
because
bond with them on their level when you
you
do,
do. Yes.
that's clever.
Yeah. And
You're a
you
sly
also,
woman, Kimberly
if
Weitkamp.
I'm giving away all my tricks,
I know.
but also if their newspaper like ours is okay, our town newspaper comes out twice a week. It's
Uh-huh.
like 4 pages long, right? But you can tell what's important to them by what they put on the front page.
Right.
So that's another thing as well. So, if there's a lot of religion in bingo, then I know I can't go to blue color.
It's a
You
nice way of
know,
putting it.
yeah, you can just tell real quick. It's a easy way, a fun way. Yeah,
I'm going to start reading the local paper now.
yeah.
I mean, I know my community, but it'll be a good, interesting experiment to see what I think of our community as opposed to what the community thinks of the community.
Right. My
So we have.
favorite. Go ahead.
Go on. Sorry. Now you go.
One of my favorite things is when we moved here to this town, which I love, and I call it the Vern. I have a ton of new stories all based on this place. I don't know how well that's going to be received, but I don't care because I don't really work in my own town because no one. I'm just the girl that
You
lives up on,
you got to cross a bridge to get
Yeah,
work. Yeah.
yeah. They
Right.
don't. You do because they're like, well, you just live up the street. Why are we going to pay you that much? And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't work here. But one of my favorite things is when we moved here, I got the newspaper because
Uh-huh.
I wanted to learn about the community. Names, particular names keep coming up, and then you know who they are. And
Right.
there was a drug raid
Oh no.
somewhere around here. I don't know where. And it said it was on marijuana plants being grown in cornfields. And it said in a joint effort, the police and the sheriff's department in a joint effort, joint,
That's a good one.
like
Yeah.
joint, right? And
Yeah.
I was like, someone has a sense of humor, or I'm just seeing this as funny. Well, little things like that kept popping up with this one reporter. And I wrote him a letter and I'm like, I don't know, but I want you to know that at least one person sees your sense
You're
of
right.
humor. And he was just tickled pink because he said, I'm telling you over people's heads. So fun stuff.
It is fun stuff, and that makes for good storytelling too.
Yeah.
When I'm telling to kids, I do a lot of grown-up humor, not so grown up that but it's the stuff that adults will get that the kids will just be like, phew, they'll miss it. So
But they'll
it's
laugh anyways because the adults are laughing.
because yes, right, right.
So everyone's having a good time.
It's true, and that's all you need, right?
Exactly.
Right, right. So I
Yeah.
just want to say that we've got people from all over. We got Rachel Hedman and Misty Mator, who are in Utah. We've got Vanita, who is out in India. Scott Moore, who's in Vermont. Pete Abdallah. Have you ever? You must have met Pete Abdallah.
I think I know Pete.
Yeah,
Is he
he's a
good
great
with
guy.
the, yeah.
Down in Florida. Yeah, and Kristen Pedamonte, Alan Zabir,
Oh,
because he goes everywhere and he's brilliant. I love that guy. I like Kristen too. And our friend who from I always get this wrong. Is it Montana? Mo Reynolds. Mo actually her comment was when we're talking about allergies. This could make it more interesting. It might. She's already given away her trade secrets.
NyQuil. NyQuil when you're feeling sick but sociable.
That's it, right? And then we've got Joy Sabato, who is a good friend of mine. She's in the Northeast.
Uh-huh.
And that's it right now. Oh, Brian Carr. He's a local lad. When did Kim start telling stories? There you go. There's our first question of the morning.
Oh boy.
Back
That's
in 1936, when she.
how I feel this morning. By the way, I for those who just tuned in, I want to tell them this because something funny just happened,
Okay.
and then I'll answer that question. So I took an allergy pill last night, and I woke up at 9:01. So I had to be on with him at 9. So I'm running around, and I have these all organic fat fig bars that I eat one every morning, right, in my coffee. So I was just sitting here talking to you guys, and my dog went by and ate my fig bar.
Oh, he did not. Well, I saw you put it down on the couch.
Well, I have a little table right here, and
Okay.
he just went by. He gave me a look like, and just, and I'm like, I'm so mad right now. I need to tell somebody. But anyways, don't take a fat woman's fig bar. That's the lesson of today, because the dog's going to be put outside for a while. When did I start telling stories? I know this is really, I know this is really cliche almost to say this. And by the way, hi to everybody, because there's a lot of names that you mentioned that I know and I love them and I miss them and I wish I could hug them so much. Um,
I need to mention Carl Goff is here. He lives in Swansea, South Wales.
oh, cool.
And Carl's
Well,
a really good storyteller, and I got to introduce him at the Nest Fest, which was freaking awesome.
when this is over, will I be able to go somewhere and look and kind of see who is on and kind of check them out?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
you'll be able to go. Yeah, because Kim got in so late, we had technical difficulties. I wasn't able to tell Kim all the
oh,
secret places that you can go to,
hey,
so that's
let
all
me.
right. You can go to. I'll send you the links. You'll be all right. I'll set you up. So when did you start, Terry?
Okay, so it sounds cliche, but when I
Television?
was a kid, I know it's like, oh, from the time I was born, whatever. Honestly, I have been telling stories since I could talk. My mom would tell me, Kimmy, when you were little, you would tell me the most ridiculous things, and we'd all sit there like, now she has to know we know this isn't true. And I was always writing plays to perform in front of my family. My teachers were constantly calling home saying, Kimmy told us blank, 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 and we just want to check with you. And my mom would be like, no, it is not. So and it wasn't lying. I wasn't trying to get out of anything, although I maybe lied a little to get out of trouble at some points. But it truly was. I just it was life was more interesting with my version
Yeah.
as a child. I would, it was a lot of times out of boredom. Sometimes I would even lay in bed and I think to myself, why did you tell mom that? When I was a little kid, I can
Uh-huh.
remember laying there and thinking that. And I would think to myself, because it's interesting and
Yes.
fun.
Yes.
It's just better this way. And when I would come home from school, she'd say, how was your day? And I go, you'll never believe what happened. And I would just la 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 la. And she would be like, are you serious? I'm like, mm-hmm. And I never felt guilt for that. And when I was in fifth grade, I have a story about this, and every part of that story is true. I had a teacher named Mrs. Ort that latched on to that and really helped me turn it into something.
That's cool.
Sincerely, she changed my life. How long has it been? Since I've been in fifth grade, 20 years or so. And it's a joke.
That meant I thought it was 15.
And I still get a little emotional thinking of her because she radically changed my life, because I was not only a child with a really prolific, sometimes unable to control imagination,
Uh-huh.
but I also just totally bounced off the walls, couldn't concentrate long, needed to constantly have some kind of form of some stimulation happening. Back then, there were no names for it. And I had gotten in trouble all through school up until fifth grade, and she just really changed my life. She told my mom, she said, she's going to fall through the cracks. You're going to have issues. She told her there's no test in these four walls that can chart her true abilities. And so we need to look at this now and recognize that where Kimmy's gifts aren't anything that we teach here. And
Wow.
she joined with my mom, and they got me in all kinds of things. I I
Jail.
that happened in 11th grade. That was 11th grade. No, no, but I tried out to be on television. I was on a television show for a while as a 13-year-old kid, singing and being on television. They got me into plays. They got me into finishing
That's cool.
school. Yeah, that didn't work well, but yeah.
You
So it was,
really? You went to finishing school?
yes. I it just it didn't work well. It wasn't for yeah, it wasn't for long, Simon, because it just I would sit there. I My choir teacher who kicked me out wrote to my mother that I was unable to conform.
Well, that's
Then
a compliment, right?
then I was upset because I loved to sing,
Right.
but now I'm like, good. She'd say, "Can't you sing one line the same way twice?" And I'm like, why would I sing the same thing two times in a row when I can da 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 da, you know?
Yeah.
So there you go. There's the answer to
Wow, that's so
the
cool.
nation.
So I just apparently a good friend of yours, or maybe a big friend of yours, Babette.
Babette,
Babette. She says, "Hi, Kim."
Babette. That is actually that's one of my squad. I
Oh,
have
it is.
approximately 5 women that are so close to me, like hardcore know everything, and Babby's one. She's
Oh,
a squad member.
so if we need to know anything about you that you might not want, we need to approach Babby. Is that what it?
She'll never tell because I know everything about her.
Oh, that's a good thing to have. That's a good thing to have. Just looking at some of these comments quickly. See from the
I
post.
just can't believe anyone's watching, if you want to know the truth.
I know. Well, we got
It's
22
because of
people.
you. It's because of you, Simon.
Well, I'm not sure about that. We've got somebody from Wyndham, which is excellent. Near Portland, Maine, I think that should be.
Maine. Good
Yeah.
yarn shops up there.
That's right. So you've got a few sidelines going on, don't you?
Thank God with COVID. Who knew? I
Right.
opened up a yarn shop maker space and then a gift shop on the other side just because I needed more space for offices. And we have a wet artist studio and a dry artist studio. The dry side, we do things like um, bead
Sarcasm.
sarcasm training. That you know what? That's hilarious. And that is going on the website class list, and I'm not kidding. This is a joke. That's great. Thank you for that. I'm not
You're
kidding.
welcome.
It's going up. No, we do things like bead making, knitting, crochet, embroidery, tatting, some dyeing arts like tatting, and we do punch needle, all these things. And then on the wet side, we do everything from making soap, like real soap, not where you melt some stuff, add some stuff. This is real, true folk art soap making. And sugar scrubs, we make that. We do all kinds of things in different studios. And I started that because when I was home off of the road, I wanted a place to go where I could work and create. And now with COVID and not being able to travel and perform, and I'm very selective about online shows. I'm very selective. Yeah. there's a reason for that, and we can talk about that later if you want. I now have way more time to be in those places, and I really built them, one, for me. You have to do it, or you can lose passion for it really quick, because retail's tough. But mainly to make a community couch to empower women, to help them tap into their creativity and help build their self-worth. And that's the main reason why I did it. The days where women would meet and quilt, and they would just spill their guts and talk, and the days where they would get together for book clubs, where that used to be a prolific thing, where they discussed politics. And actually the book clubs of old, they truly got together to discuss town politics, and those women would then go home after discussing things. And this is, when they couldn't vote, and they would truly sway their husbands. I can't hear you. You disappeared.
I muted myself because the furnace just turned on, so I was muting myself. But yeah, it's like when they go to the husbands, poke, poke, poke.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, those days died, and now in this space that I've created, actually, I just built it. They have created it. We had 1,278 students come through last year. Yes, 1,278 students. And
That's
then
a
in
lot.
the front lounge, where anyone can come, before the virus, we would have 13 to 18 women throughout the store just working on their projects, some master level, some beginner, and sharing stories. And I just put this out yesterday, that the purpose of the Makery is to bring together people of all walks of life to create, to build their self-worth. But when they're creating, they sit side by side sharing stories, and suddenly bridges between opposite ways of thinking, opposing religion, different types of whatever, bridges are built. And a community that is built with bridges is stronger than a community that is based on one-way streets. And so I truly, at the end of the day, it's to make the fiber of this community stronger. So that's why I did it. So yeah.
And I love the name of it too, the Makery.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a lot of people are very thumbs up for your project right there.
Thanks.
Misty said, another one of your posse has arrived. Misty said that was such an integral part of the female and community experiences, doing the sewing, doing the laundry, and talking together. And it's something these people are sorely missing. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
And you know what else? I want to say that this is to the married women who are married, specifically to men, I'm going to say on this. Because this is the issue. Because the community of women gathering has broken down over time, women, and I might get skewered for this, but I don't care, because I've seen it. Mm-hmm. Women have turned to men, and it's the same way, I believe, that men, it can go both ways, but I can only speak from a female position. Women have turned to men and asked them for things that I'm going to really get skewered, Lord mercy. If my daughter was here, she'd be like, really, Mom? But I'm going to say it. They've turned to men and have required of them something that they cannot give them, because they're not built that way. And so then the women come up empty. Why don't you? Why don't you? And the guy's like, I don't understand what it is that you need. Well, what we need as women is women. Now, if you're married to a woman, you're just ace in the hole, right? But we need each other, because I tell Danny all the time, who you see walking in the background.
Was that Danny giving an amen just then?
He is my dearest, dearest friend. But my posse of women, my women that I trust, the 5 women I've surrounded myself with in my life, they give me something that he cannot, and he's okay with that. It's a tight thing. It's a tight thing. It's an understanding that cannot be found any other way, which then in turn, I think, makes me a better partner to him. I just broke every sex boundary taboo that you're not.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
I get nervous.
No, I would agree with that, and I think that there also needs, men need to get together with men. It's the same thing,
Absolutely.
Right? There are some things that we can, that we can talk about and share, and and get off our chest that we can't necessarily do with women.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah. And sometimes that can even be sitting in silence. Some of the
Yeah.
greatest, most powerful moments that I have felt in that shop is when there is a table of women, and I can think of one time in particular, Simon, where there was 4 OR nurses, a group of Mennonites, one with a baby strapped to her,
Mm-hmm.
2 elders, seniors, I like to call them elders,
No, I
and
do
then a
too.
smattering of other people, and their heads were all down, and I was teaching embroidery, and their heads were all down, and they were over their hoops, carefully working. And I remember sitting there and watching that and thinking, first of all, there's nowhere else right now in this whole community where that type of group of people are together at all. 2, they were all so focused on creating, and yet they were there, and I could almost palpable feel an energy there. Danny, say hi and get out of
Hey,
frame.
Danny.
Hello. Sorry.
It's all right. It's fine. Come and
He's
join
so-
her on the couch. Let's do this together.
He's so cute. But I mean, they weren't even talking at that moment. And the energy was just, it literally overwhelmed me in that moment. The beauty of that silence of them all together, all so very different. And if I would have said, okay, put it down, we're going to talk about politics or religion, the whole place would have ended up divided. But
Yeah.
there we were all together in that moment. And my beginner embroidery is a 4-hour class. And so they had already talked and laughed, and I always provide beverages, and I'm always cracking jokes. I'm always telling stories when I teach, obviously.
No.
But even in the silence, there was an energy that was fascinating. So there, I get passionate about it.
You do, but everyone's agreeing with you.
Yeah.
And my buddy Carl, he was saying the same thing. So Mo Reynolds up in Colorado. Have you met Mo yet?
I know, Mel.
Okay, good. I read this interesting article, says Mo, about how our veterans, sorry, God blimey, I need new glasses.
Sorry.
Current conflicts are having so much more PTSD and violent trauma upon re-entry because instead of bonding and processing with their fellow soldiers, they are getting on video chats with family who cannot really comprehend what they are doing.
Mm.
Soldier connection is weaker, and so the vets are having a harder time. And she also says you're spot on. And it's the same with depression. As someone that suffers from depression, I know that trying to explain certain things to people, like my wife, who doesn't suffer from depression,
Right.
if it's really hard for her to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can talk to other friends who suffer from depression,
Mm-hmm.
mention any names because that's up to them to share that stuff and not me.
And what Mo said is that they are having more problems because they're video communicating.
Right.
That to me is, I want to can we talk about that for a minute?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
This is what Friday Friends is all about,
Yes.
chit chat.
So it is a beautiful thing that we have technology during this time, because I
Mhm.
wouldn't see my grandkids. I wouldn't get to talk to my children as much. We couldn't have this conversation and so forth. We do a lot of Zoom things now with our store, Zoom classes and so forth, and that's great. But state of the art will never replace state of the heart.
Yeah.
So you suffer from depression, right? And my husband suffers from depression.
Hmm.
If I had you both sit down without speaking and sit side by side and left you alone in the room and said, listen, for 20 minutes, I want you to just sit next to each other. You don't have to talk. I can guarantee that at some point there would be an emotion rise,
Yeah. Oh,
because I truly believe in the power of spirit. And I truly, the unseen, let's just say the unseen so we don't leave anyone out. I believe in the unseen power that works inside of us. And when you sit next to somebody, even in silence, it is not long until you start to feel some kind of connection and an emotion rises. If I would tell you to both sit there and talk about the pain of depression, which is not, it can be triggered, but sometimes it comes.
Yeah.
I've worked hard to understand his. If I told you to sit there and think about the pain of your depression, what you've dealt with, sitting side by side and not speak, at some point you would connect so deep even maybe more than speaking, because I truly believe in the power of the unseen.
Yeah, no, yeah,
That is something that we cannot get through this.
right.
I can't get that. I can't feel
Well,
you.
right, and I'm sure that that Dan is sat in a room and he's looked at someone and he's like, this person has depression,
Right.
right? Or there's something going on over there. I don't know what it is. I need to talk to them, and you don't get that through the camera.
And storytellers, I feel, are, I'm debating, a majority of storytellers
Okay.
are really tuned into that.
Hmm.
Because when we are performing, I don't know about you and the lovely people that are here, but I feel it. I'm going to get emotional. I feel it. I feel those people. I feel them. I can't explain it. And I can, on a dime, wave myself the direction I need to go because I'm being led by them, not their laughter. I am by their laughter, not their
Hmm. Yeah.
silence. I am by their silence. I feel the room. I have a piece of art here. It's beautiful, and I have it where I can see it every day. And it says, in the midst of the song, um, she heard every heartbeat in the room and realized it was bigger than her, that what she was doing was bigger than her. I feel the room. I feel the people. It is literally like I can reach out and eat it. It's that palpable to me, that tangible. I can
Wow.
feel the room all the way to the person in a 2,000 seat venue. I can feel I can look back and feel it. It's a bizarre thing. And that's why I am so radically open about discussing the unknown and visible within each of us, the universe, whatever, God, whatever you want to call it, because I truly feel it. I truly feel it. And when I say I had a sucky show, it's usually because one, either I took an allergy pill and just rolled out of bed, or I wasn't reading it. Yes,
Right. Yeah.
people be like, well, Kim, they were laughing. No, 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 no. I wasn't reading it. I wasn't reading it. I mean, I'll literally turn when I feel a surge of that thing. I'll turn to that portion of the room and then sweep it because I feel in a way I can, as a storyteller, not only verbally but with my body, help move it. Am I getting so freaking weird?
No, you're
I,
not.
I should have got stoned before this. That would have really worked out. But I really, I totally, 100%. I feel it. I have no other way to say it.
Yeah. I think I definitely believe that there are other storytellers that feel the same way as that.
Mhm.
Totally get your feeling about. I mean, I go. It's like having a set list planned, and you stand up on stage and you think this isn't going to work, and you throw it down. It's like now I gotta. Like you looking at the audience thinking, what do they need?
Yeah. And
Your
usually,
energy. Give me your energy.
yeah, when I do a show, I never have anything planned. I have a loose list, but I will walk around the auditorium or I will stand backstage and I'll look at the audience and just first do the calculated facts like, okay, this tends to be an over 55 group. I only see two children. There's those, but then I feel them. What level are they
Yeah.
chatting?
Yeah.
How are they looking at each other when they sit down? What am I feeling from them? And I will know pretty quick what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
So,
That's
yeah.
cool.
So, yeah. I can I ignore the invisible and get up and make everybody laugh and they're like, that was a great time? Yes.
Yeah, but there's
Can I
there's no
tell a sad,
satisfaction in that.
right? I can tell a sad, poignant story or a spooky story, and I was like, that was great. That's not what I'm in this for. If I
Yeah.
wanted to do that, I would do comedy or theater,
Yeah.
right? And allow
Yeah.
the piece to control. Um, I'm in this for the human connection.
Yeah. Me
That's
too.
why I like storytelling.
Yeah.
Not that theater or comedy is less than, but in
It's just
theater you have
different.
to stick
Yeah.
to a script. You don't get to, yeah,
Well, I think so. I'm going to stand up for theatre just a little bit here,
yeah. Because I don't,
because it's
but I
it's
don't
it's
mind so versed in it.
right. I think there's with storytelling, the story, that there is no fourth wall to start with, right? And
Right.
you break through that fourth wall if there is one, and you have that connection with the audience. It's a one-on-one experience, um, and with theatre, you don't have that. But I do think that there's energy that plays between the performers and the audience, because you can go and see the same play and with two different audiences, and you'll get two very different productions. I mean, they're still
Right,
saying the same lines and everything, but the energy is it's palpably different.
right.
I mean, this is a bad example, but it's an example.
Can you take the dogs to the garage, please? Sorry. Put the dogs in
Punish
the.
the dogs,
No,
Danny. Punish the dogs.
Weezy, go on, babe. Go on.
Wheezy.
No,
No
because if
food for them for the rest of the day.
they stole my figgy biscuit. No, if the mail lady comes, it'll all hell break loose
Okay, all right. Well,
here
that's
at the
good then.
house. Yeah. Yeah, you know what? You're right. So if I go with one group to the same thing and another group to the same thing, I have a different experience. You're absolutely
Yeah,
correct.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think that a lot of that's to do with energy. I mean, we went to see in the West End. West End. Is that right? Yeah, that's New York, right? The West End.
Mhm.
And Broadway. That's what I'm trying to think of. West End is London. You see, I was back in
Got
London
it.
for a
Got it.
while there.
Yeah.
So we went to see Aladdin on Broadway, and it was amazing. And you could see. I mean, this is different because it's like a pantomime type feel to it, but the audience was so into it that the guy Mustafa, not Mustafa, the bad guy, you could see that he was having a lot of fun with the audience and with the
Energy.
other members of the cast. Yeah. So, and that's again, it's all energy. So I totally believe in that. So I want to come back to your um, maker's place, because Megan asked a question, and she's curious about how many Muslims or Jews within your community are there in your community.
None.
None.
Oh, I
Okay.
mean, let me change that. I'm sure they are that we have. I was going to say, I'm sure we have them among us, right? No, that's not how
Yeah.
I meant it. When it was coming out, I'm like, that's going to sound really weird. But I'm sure you got to know where I live. I live in the Midwest edge, small town, farmers, farmers, German, a lot of Pennsylvania Dutch, Amish. I live
Hmm.
in highest um, the highest rate of Amish is right next door in Holmes County. I mean, we have hitching posts at Walmart here. We have hitching posts at
Good.
restaurants. No joke.
Nice.
And to see buggies parked is no big deal. Yoder toters. We have Yoder toters. Those are people that the Amish pay to tote them around in 16 passenger vans.
Oh, okay.
Yoder is a heavy duty Amish name, and so we call them Yoder tote. Everyone knows they're called Yoder toters. And I mean, just sprawling farms and grain silos like you have never seen in your life. I'm talking size wise, it would blow your mind. These are like transformers. They're so huge, like the robot.
Like that, like the one in the Harrison Ford movie.
Yes, exactly. Gigantic,
Yeah,
gigantic.
that
And
was a great
so
movie.
I'm thinking of two people I know who are Jewish. I think that couple yes, they're practicing Muslim, but they are here because of Kenyon College. See, it's a very interesting community. That's why in my shop there's no politics or religion allowed. So I just explained where I live, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And I want to say this: there's no politics or religion allowed to be discussed. One, because not because we don't want you to be active, and not because we don't love that discourse, but it's a very interesting place. So heavy duty farm country, right? And you are right, Kristen, so much because I lived in PA, so I know Allentown. And conservative, heavy blue collar. And but then in the midst of this heavy conservative town that is predominantly blue collar, we have Kenyon College, which is ranked, I believe, as the second top liberal arts school in the country, and they go extreme liberal. So we've got this which I love this. I eat this for dinner. I love it when you have that dichotomy of people. where you've got, no, I'm not going to say extreme conservatives, although there's a few of them out there that are kind of radical and on both sides. But we have this beautiful juxtaposition between a group that is very liberal and liberal arts and liberal in their thinking. And then we have the Nazarene College, the biggest one in the country. So conservative, just conservative, beautiful humans. So they're all walking around together and they don't tend to mingle, except they pass on the street mainly, but they tend to Kenyon keeps up in their little village and the Naz people stay down here. And at my shop, I get them all because
That's
they
cool.
know there's no religion or politics allowed. And they walk in, and I have literally seen, I hate to use that word, but I'm not kidding. I have seen both of these people types walk in and
Yeah.
and go to it. And everybody knows I can go there despite what my belief system is, and I'm going to enjoy myself and meet amazing people. And that's what I wanted. And what has happened because of that is that there are people getting together that never would have gotten together. One day in the lounge, because we have a beautiful lounge where you can come and work on your projects. I was sitting and talking to a woman, and I don't want to give a lot away because I don't know who's watching. And she is a lovely woman, leans highly to the left. And in walks this other woman. And I know them both well. And the one that walked in leans highly to the right. They're both uber passionate about their belief systems. And I was like, oh boy, usually I can keep things under control, but this might be a little rough. Well, they know the rules and they followed them. And she ended up sitting down with us and we began talking. And the woman, I'm just going to say the woman on the right, started discussing her work with the homeless. And the woman on the left said, oh, well, I do work with the homeless. What do you do? And it began. And in that conversation, they danced because I'm sitting there and they know the rules. Because I'll call people out and be like, nope, none of that. But they learned where they stood in a dance that they did. And to this day, they're working together.
Wow, that's so cool.
That to me, that's my paycheck.
Mission accomplished. Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
I hate saying that. I used to be able to say that, and now it has all these other connotations to it.
I know. It's just the whole world's gone to hell in a handbasket. So I mean,
yes, it has. It's true. It's true.
But yeah, but that's the payoff. So she asked about those two people groups. Very minimal, except that from Kenyon College, we get a flow of really different ethnic and different religious backgrounds and so forth, because there's a lot of international students.
Yeah,
as well as
that's cool. That's really cool. So you also play. Did you start telling stories first with the plays, and did you pick up the guitar then?
No,
or was it pretty much the same time? Did you come out playing a banjo or something like that?
I came out of my mother's womb with a flute.
Yes.
No, we were too poor for me to have an instrument.
Really? Okay.
Common humanity, Norman. That's right. Common humanity. Thank you. There's so much more we have in common if we would just stop. Well, let me just go back to that a minute. So here's the thing that's interesting when you have those kind of conversations, or you encourage those kinds of conversations. When those two people left, their hatred, I'm not saying they had it, but their hatred or their distaste of the people on the other side has now been altered. So now they leave, and one goes to a dinner party with their wine and their lovely crusty bread and salmon croquettes. And the other one goes, and I'm not saying which one, goes to a potluck dinner. And when people start busting on the other side, they say, well, I agree with you because, we all agree the same here in this little bubble that I'm living in. But I meant the most. You see, it changes, it spreads. That's my goal, is to spread that lovely, lovely disease of kindness and understanding and mercy throughout the community. Oh, so distasteful because we're supposed to hate each other right now. But so music.
Sorry.
Okay. Sounds like 2 words.
Yes, right?
Yeah.
Now what was I going to say? Oh my gosh, I can't remember.
Music. So no,
Yeah, music. Yeah.
we were very poor. There was only one instrument in the family. It was a trumpet. And so when I said I wanted to play an instrument, they gave me the trumpet that had belonged to my brother. I weighed like 20 pounds and was a spit of a kid, redheaded little sweetie, lugging around this giant trumpet. I'd be like, trying to blow it, and it didn't work. So then in high school, I begged them for guitar lessons, and the guitar teacher who I was in love with, he was a senior, and he smelled like leather and Tootsie Pops. Oh, yummy, yummy. I still have a penchant for leather and Tootsie Pops because he always had a Tootsie Pop and he had a leather jacket. I asked him if he'd teach me guitar, and he's like, yes. And I'm like, but I don't have a guitar. And he's like, I got an old one. Well, I played it so much that my grades slipped, so they took the guitar away. So there was no instrument for me. And then Michael Reno Harrell, I had finally, at like the age of 35, bought $100 cheap guitar that sounded like crap. And I would just I had no clue how to play it. And I would pluck out notes so I could at least have a melody to the songs I was writing, the lyrics. And Mikey's like a brother. We literally had like a spit shake that he adopted me and I adopted him. And one day he came to the house with his wife Joan, and he's like, I got a new guitar. Now let me tell you about Michael. He has a room that is temperature and humidified appropriately for guitars, and they are lined up on racks with tags, and you've got to get through 3 serious locked doors to get to them. And I'm not kidding. And I said, why in the world are you getting another guitar? And he goes, well, when you see one you like, you got to get it. So he opens it up, and it's this red. Oh, it's so pretty. It was a red, I forget what it was. Takamine, I think. And he's playing it, and he's like, well, play me something you wrote. And I'm like, oh, Mike, I don't really play. He's like, just do it. So I did, and he's like, it's yours. And he and his wife bought me my first real guitar. So it wasn't that long ago. So I actually told stories for a while without any guitar, but I would still write the songs, but I didn't feel like I could play them. And he said the only deal with this is that that you trade it in an upgrade. So I'm going to show you. I don't know if you can see this, but hold on. I'm going to show you my house. Thank God it's not too dirty. There's one. There's one. And those are my husband's. Lots of guitars in the house. And Mikey set that off. My husband is actually a much better guitar player than I am by far. But I've got like three now. 2 of them are Martins, and then one, I don't even know what it is. And I'm not a great guitar player, but it's like Michael said to me. He said, people don't come to hear you shred on the guitar. That's not why they're buying the ticket. They want a great story. And then when you sing and play, they go, oh, an added bonus. And so that's why I don't freak out over my guitar playing abilities. I play very basic. So if you're going to play basic the best you can. It's my song and my singing that is the plus.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah. Well, I also think that I come from the banging side of things. I'm a percussionist type person, self-taught, blah blah blah. I totally agree. I made some serious mistakes in my early years. My late teens when I was buying equipment, and I'd buy. Well, that's cheap. I grew up with the cheap mentality of World War II because my parents went through it, right? And so I would like buy these cheap drums, and it would be like, well, they don't sound very good, right? Or they break, right? And then it's like, all right, so this isn't working out. So what do I need to do? And it's like, well, it's like buying a house. You buy the best that you can afford, and you'll enjoy playing it.
Yeah.
If you buy something that's like, well, I want to play this, so I'm going to buy that because it's cheap, that's not going to work because you're not going to enjoy playing it. And so when like my Bowron, I had a very cheap Bowron, and I bought it because I wanted to figure out if I wanted to learn it and play it properly. Mm-hmm. This guy that I knew let me borrow his for the summer, and he had one that was made in Austria, not China, and the skin was evenly. And after a year, he said, I need it back, and I'm like, no, it's like I want it, and I had.
You have it there.
Yes.
Because I have friends watching that don't know what that is.
A Bowron? All right, hang on.
I know what it is.
All right, you keep talking. I'll be right back. Don't
Okay.
take it easy and giggle, girl. Come on.
So I have friends that have only ever seen me perform once, which is okay with me. And so they're not in the storytelling world like some of the people watching. And so they don't know what it is you do, Simon. So you have to show them. I'm actually okay with people with having friends that don't know the storytelling world. It's kind of nice in a way because they think I'm amazing. They think I'm the only storyteller in the world. I'm okay with that.
It's a good feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
All right, so the bow. Hang on, I gotta put myself back in.
I'm excited. I'm making you perform. What
I
time?
know, right? I was
Oh
supposed to make
my.
you perform. So for those of you that your friends that don't know, a bowron is a frame drum, which is basically one of these things. And the bowron is an Irish instrument. It used to be a sieve, apparently, and they would be hanging up on the wall, and they would sieve the chaff out and all that kind of stuff. And
I did not know that.
apparently, that's the legend. I don't know if
Love that.
that's the legend, yeah. And then, these people come around with their flutes and their pipes and their fiddles, and somebody like banging an ashtray on the table or thumping their beer mug on the table. And someone probably looked at this and thought, well, I wonder what this can do. And so they would play it. I've got to stand up to do this.
I can't wait.
And when, when originally it was just played with the hand, so they would be like, and then they thought, well, that's hard. Let's use a stick. And because they were Irish, they used the bottom of the stick instead of the top of the stick. So except I haven't warmed up, so it sounds crap. Let's get the other stick out, which is heavier. Hang on.
I'm ready. You know what my favorite movie is, don't you? You don't know. My favorite.
Yes, I do. It's The Lion King,
No. I mean, it's fine, but
the
no.
live action version.
When I left my first husband after 30 years, I took my pottery, my pictures, my family pictures, my books, and one movie. And it was The Waking of Ned Devine.
Oh, that's such a good film. That
And
really
that's
is a good film.
making me think of when she's going to the phone booth, she's in the phone booth and they're playing. And
Yeah.
then bam. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm not playing it very well because I'm standing up. It's not.
That's okay. It's awesome.
And Kimmy
love
put
it.
me on the spot.
I know.
And you play it by, so your hand is, you're rolling your hand over to change the notes and stuff.
I love it.
So anyway, now I've showed how badly I can play that. I should
I
stop.
love it. I love it. Whenever I am having a rough day, I pull that movie out. I love that kind of music, period. There's
Yeah.
a radio station, WNZR. I mean, now it's just left me because I said WNZR. It's not WNZR. That I listen on Alexa, and every Sunday, all it is that kind of music, just Irish music, like for hours.
Yeah.
I love it. My family is out of Dublin and Württemberg, Germany. My dad's
Wow.
side is Württemberg, Germany, and my mother's side is Dublin, Ireland. And my grandmother from Dublin, Ireland, went to Washburn, England, and then here.
Wow.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I don't
My
know why.
wife, yeah, we have German within our family as well. But I'm sure we've got Irish in our family for sure.
Yeah,
My
German,
dad's looking
Irish, and
into that.
Scandinavian is what I am. I love knowing that because I never met my birth mother. So
Oh, that's right, you were
to
adopted.
get
Yeah,
those roots in my brain just kind of helps ground me a little bit. I spit in the tube and got my DNA done, and it really helped ground me because there was a part of me that felt like a flapping, ripped cloth in the wind on a bad day, and I feel like that's calmed down having that genealogy a little bit secure on my mother's side because of that. So
that's cool. It's nice
this
to have that knowledge because it's when I'm doing performances for families, one of the things that I tell the parents is, if the grandparents aren't around, if they're like far away,
Mhm.
voice recorder, have them record their stories, and then mail the voice recorder back so that the kids can hear these stories, because it's all about your heritage, and you really need, it's not to be nationalistic or anything, but it's to know your roots and to ground
Absolutely.
you. Because if you don't know where you're from, it's like you said, you're like a sail or a kite without a string that's tethered.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, yeah.
It's important.
Everyone's raving about something that Tony said. I'm not sure what it is.
What did Tony say?
Oh, hang on.
Maybe Tony should be here instead of me. We need to have
No, Tony. Tony will step in again. He said, so,
Tony Toledo. Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Grab a gallon of life and all right, okay.
Oh, he's saying nice
Nice of you,
things
Tony.
about
I
you.
know.
I
I'm not
love
very good at.
that.
I'm not very good at
See? I
taking
love it.
compliments. So yeah, apparently people like the Bower. All right, okay, so we can
It
get
is.
it.
It's very cool.
Thanks, Babette. I appreciate that.
I love
Perfect.
that.
Yeah, Waking Dead Divide. And one of my favorite ones is The Secret of Roan Inish.
Ooh, that's going in my phone. Don't know that one.
You don't? But
No.
you tell silky stories. It's about the Selkies.
No. Oh, you did hear my Selkie story.
Yeah.
I forgot that you heard that.
Yeah, that was such a good story. All right, here's another
Thank
compliment.
you. I appreciate
I
it.
loved watching you play this, Simon. It was like watching you step into this cool zone before launching into the story. I remember after Jeff Doyle told the story about his dad, you took some extra time. Yeah, I did. Well, so this is one of the reasons that I use the drum, right? When I first started doing storytelling, I had seen a few storytellers, and I would hire storytellers to come into the library that I worked as a feral children's librarian. And I would see them playing like flutes or guitars, or Odds Bodkin with his like harps and everything,
Yeah.
and I would be sitting there, like twiddling my thumbs, and this is Simon Brooks. It's like, do, 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 do. And I'd chat with the people and everything, and I thought, well, I can't, I've tried. I used to play the guitar. I can't say I used to play the guitar. I played the guitar for a short while in my mid to late teens. And I think I played two tunes, one of which I remember playing, which is "The House of the Rising Sun," and that was it. And then I was always a drummer. I was a drummer from the age of 10, and so I was very happy hitting things. And anyway, I tried to learn the ukulele, but my fingers now are just not. They're not. I can't do that.
Right. Right.
Stuff. And so I saw this movie, The Sisters of Magdalene, which is a brutal movie. But one of the opening scenes is this priest and this other guy playing the bowron in a pub. And I'd never seen a bowron before. And I was like, holy cow, that is the best thing ever. One of those. So I want to learn to do that because it's drumming. It's small. You can't take a drum kit with you to it when you could, but what's the point? And I think that could pack away easily. This is great. And so I bought the cheapest one that I could find because I wanted to know, I didn't want to waste money on it if I couldn't play it or I didn't like it. And then I got the Bowron, and now, as Mo said, is like if I'm in an olio or a showcase or something like that, and someone drops this like bomb of a story, this like amazing story that has an effect on people, either it's like horrendously hysterical, or it's just so deep that people need a moment longer than they've been given. I'll play the drum.
Like a cleansing.
Yeah, it's a cleansing of the palate. It's like the coffee beans at the perfume store.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I use it. Or, if I, like we were talking about earlier, if you go into a place and it's like, these aren't the right stories, I need to think of something else, then I'll sit and I'll play the drum while I'm trying to look at the audience and chat with the audience, thinking, all right, what story am I going to tell to kick off this event,
Mm-hmm.
So it's very much that. And usually by the end of the event, I don't play the drum because I'm so into the story.
Yeah. I love it. It's a beautiful tool. It's a beautiful instrument.
I love the Baron. It's so good. And Norman Perrin says, do you know about Duncan Williamson's book of Selkie Tales, Tales of the Seal People, Tales of the Sea? Yes, I do. And I love that book. It's such a great set of stories. It really is. So what do you love about storytelling most?
I get to talk without getting in trouble.
That you get paid for it.
I think it's give and the take of the learning that happens. I have learned so much from other people's stories. Not only my friends that are storytellers that are doing the gig with me, but the people that come up afterwards and tell me stories, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, so that's one of the things I really, really love is the learning that I get. It's a learning. Like, I'm going to
Hmm.
give you a learning kind of thing. Like, I truly get a learning. And the other part that I love is being able to see the physical aha moments of the audience when I'm telling. There's one story that I tell called Love on the First Floor. It's about a nursing home. And there's a moment in that story that I can time it now from telling it so much, where there's a actual physical shift in the audience, and they
Hmm.
usually touch whoever they're with. There's another one, Penny Candy Love, that's a funny story about my mom and dad sending us to the candy store so they can have sex. It's a true story. I figured it out one day while I was driving in the car, thinking about my childhood, because that's where I work, is when I drive long distances is my favorite. And and there's a point in that story where everybody, if they are with someone that's a partner, will touch their leg and put their hand down, or they'll I see the arms go up. It's fascinating. I love that. So I know
Hmm.
that I'm imparting a learning to them as much as they're imparting a learning to me. And whether that is that I love this person next to me despite
Yeah.
this, or whether it is I need to forgive my mother, or whether it
Hmm.
is I need to cross the fence to my neighbor, or whether it is holy crap, I'm screwed up. Whatever it is they get out of it, or she's screwed
Right.
up, that reflects my screwed up. Whatever it is, I can't
Yeah.
interpret that because for everybody, the experience with a storyteller is different when they walk away. There's a
Yeah.
universal ground we're all talking about, but then it all slowly releases like an Advil slow release tablet
Yeah.
to do what it needs to do in each individual. So it's the give and take of the learning, I think is my favorite thing.
Yeah.
I do love
I,
writing. I love to write. I love
Writing's fun. That's a
I
very
love
different
it.
process. That's a very internal process.
I'm actually right now creating a podcast and it's called Dead Bird Singing. It's not up yet. There's a lot of work going into it. I have a whole team of
Okay.
people and I'm really excited about that. It's uh it's really going to be creepy. And
Creepy.
creepy. That's my
Could you?
favorite genre. My favorite genre is the really dark, twisted, psychological, unusual, creepy spirit stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my album Dead Bird Singing and my first album Headbone Rattles, I love that. But Dead Bird Singing is probably next to the folk ballad I wrote, the ballad of Ronnie Calloway. I'd say that Dead Bird Singing is my favorite album I've ever done. I feel
And is
like
that
my
all?
I feel like my
all
writing is at its best. If yeah, I love it. Do you want me to leave you with a creepy true story?
You can, but I want first. I got a couple of things to say very, very, very quickly.
Okay.
Um, so that CD that you're talking about, that's not all traditional stories because you just clued in there that it's a.
Mm-mm. They're all original
Oh,
except for one.
okay. And the other thing I wanted to suggest is, I think for me, storytelling. I can only say this for me, but for me, storytelling is akin to a spiritual practice
Mhm.
in some ways.
Yeah. I think I think you can approach it without that, but I think you're going to miss a lot, not only in what you give the audience, but within yourself.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
So
want to.
tell us a story.
This isn't a story, as in I've written and edited it. This is something that happened with a CD that I made. So I love birds. I love them, and this is going to be really creepy. People are going to be like, "What the heck?" But it's true. And one day, I was out sitting on the front porch and my grandson was playing, and there were so many birds. And I love birds. I have bird feeders strategically placed all around my property. I feed the crows in the shell hard boiled eggs with a nickel beside it so they have something shiny and they come, and I love my crows. And, but I was sitting there and there were so many birds, and I thought to myself, where are all the dead birds? You know, where are all the dead birds? We see animals on the side of the road that are dead. I can walk through the forest and see maybe an animal here or there, but where there are thousands upon thousands of birds within a vicinity of us at any given time. And we never see dead birds. Well, a lot of cultures believe that dead birds, that a bird is a messenger from the spirit world. So I started writing with that one thought in my mind. Well, when I went in the studio to record Dead Bird Singing, which has a piece on it called The Falling Apart Man that I adore to death, love it. It's like a baby that I never want to have leave me. Um, so we recorded the album, and I'm in a studio. It's soundproof. I've got my engineer. I mean, it's the real deal. And I leave. We did it over a few days. And he calls me when I get home. He calls me like a day or two later, and he said, "You're not going to believe this." He said, on the one piece with crows, where you talk about crows, there's the sound of crows in the background calling. I'm like, oh, come on, Keith. And he said, no, I'm serious. He said, I'm going to send it to you. Put your headphones on and listen. So he did. And there was, in the background, far, far away, the sound of crows. And I called him and I'm like, okay, you're funny. Ha ha. And he's like, Kim, I swear to you, I did not add it. Why would I do that? Why would I screw up a recording when you live 6 hours away to just be funny? And I said, well, can you get it off of there? And he said, no, because they were coming through your vocal mic. And he said, I can't erase it. And so on that album, Dead Bird Singing, if you listen to it, you'll actually hear the cry of, and actually, I know the vocalizations of crows because I'm such a freaking geek. And it's actually a good call that it's giving. So tell me that that's not going to just shake you to your boots.
That's so neat.
So weird. I just have to accept it and be like, okay, that's cool, or it could freak me out a little bit. Yeah.
That's amazing.
On both of my albums, Dead Bird Singing and Headbone Rattles, which lean to that darker, I don't like the slasher stuff. I like it when it just unnerves you a little bit, that you kind of like jump into bed quicker and you don't put your hand out over the edge. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And on both of those, there was really bizarre things that happened. Michael Reno and Andy Offit-Irwin were in the studio with me on my other album like that, where something happened that I'm not going to get into because we're out of time. And yeah, I love that stuff. It's kind of fun.
I like that stuff too, especially when it happens.
Yeah. I stay on the rim of it because I believe there's a very dark, deep place in the middle that I don't want to go. But
yeah, well, I agree with that. Yeah. And I think those Ouija boards, those are not good.
I don't know. No. I'm not.
We're not going to open that bag of worms, right? So Alan DeBay says Kim should go ghost hunting with you sometime.
He should what?
Go ghost hunting with him.
Oh, who? Oh, with Alan.
With Alan. Apparently he's a ghost hunter.
Oh, Alan has, let me tell you.
I'd be up for that.
Alan has a storytelling CD library that I'm going to guesstimate is probably no less than 300 CDs.
Wow.
I'm not
That's
kidding.
A lot. Dude, that's a lot of CDs.
He is a huge supporter. He's also won Liars Contest. But my friend Alton Chung and I, Alton Chung, Alton.
Oh, yeah.
When we hang out, he's my food buddy. When we do gigs together, we find good food, but we also go orb hunting. And it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So Kristen says, birds are messengers from the spirit world. This week I had a deeply moving experience with a hawk or a hawk that flew down where I was kneeling below it, and it flew just above my left shoulder. I could feel the breeze from the edges of its wings. Felt honored. Yes.
Honor.
That's so cool.
The fact it didn't claw your hair and grab you, it means it is an honor, because it could have.
Yeah, especially with Kristen, because she's 5'1 3/4. I mean, it could have carried her away. It definitely could have done. She's like 10 pounds of what?
Yeah. She but the fact it didn't and it just went by her, I think, is a definite honor.
Yeah, no, I think that's very good.
Yeah.
And yeah, Tony liked that too. Crows singing with you. I know that's amazing, isn't it?
It was crazy, yeah. And what's weird is I have 2 crows on the property that won't let me alone. So I just decided to start feeding them, and They're always
I
around.
love
I
crows.
feed my chickens. They sit up in the tree and they watch me. If I'm in the woods back here, they'll kind of hop through the trees with me. I don't know, man. I don't question it, Simon. I just go with it. It's just,
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm the same way.
it's
Oh,
fun.
so
I love my crows.
so your numbers were right, but the CD thing was a bit off. It was 400 CDs
And
and
100 digital.
100 digital.
Yeah,
You must have a big server, mate. That's what I'm going to say. A big computer.
when I have a new CD come out, I know at least I'm going to sell one to Alan DeBay.
That's true. It's true. Oh, hang on, we got one more comment. This one came from Facebook. I mean, from YouTube. I don't get many comments from YouTube. But Gwingum says, do you have any advice for someone trying to break into vocational storytelling? Yes, find my advice to you, and Kim might have this similar thought. Or a similar thought as mine, but I would find a local storytelling guild. You can go to the National Storytelling Network website, and they have a list of the guilds or the local guilds on their website. If you are not in America, because that looks like it could be a Welsh name, Carl, right? Uh, then I know that England has an awful lot of local storytelling guilds as well, and you can find those out there as well by typing in storytelling guilds and go and listen to storytellers and find out all the different styles that there are, and read a lot of folktale books and start telling the stories. That's the if you want to break into vocational storytelling, then go and see lots of other storytellers and read lots of folk and fairy tales. Unless you're into personal narrative, in which case go to things like the Moth and your storytelling guilds that might do more personal narrative stuff, which if you're in England, good luck with that.
Mm-hmm.
Kim, have you got any advice for a vocational
I
beginner?
do. If you join a guild, make sure that you are steadfast in your mind as to how much you want to give them.
Yes.
Guilds are made up and they're comprised of amazing human beings that love storytelling, but they will suck you dry. And next thing you know, you'll be the president of the guild and you'll be doing a small little festival. And then you won't have any time to do what you intended to do. So, and Simon, you know this is true because
It's
we've all
true.
been part of one. I was the president of the Virginia Storytelling Alliance and I loved it, but I had to step away because I was not getting done what I needed to get done for my career, if you want
Yeah.
to call it that. But oh my gosh, such a support. Some of my dearest friends were made in a guild. So just make sure that you have outlined in your mind very clearly before you join what it is you want from that while giving, because you shouldn't just take, but how much you want to give. The second thing is tell well. Elizabeth
Yeah.
Ellis gave me that advice, 18 years ago? Tell well. And I did. I told to anybody. I was like a high school rock band in a van. I would go anywhere for anything, even if it was just food, and I would work. In the beginning,
Right.
not anymore, people. In the beginning, I would tell to anybody that would listen, and then do not be one of the people who say, can you just tell me what you thought? When, there's people that we adore. And so
Yeah.
we go to them because we appreciate their art as a storyteller and we tell them, tell me what you thought, give me feedback. And people do this. Hi, Joanne. And when they ask me, I'll say, do you really want to know? Yeah, I do. Okay, so here it goes. And then as I tell them, this happens.
Yeah.
And they walk away going, they didn't. One of the best compliments I ever got was from Bill Harley. And he pulled me aside and he said, Kim, I remember when you were just starting out to make this your vocation and you asked people their thoughts and their opinions and their feedback and you took it. That was a huge compliment because that's not my MO to actually do what people tell me to do. But don't ask unless you're going to apply it. And you have to treat everything that you receive from people as like washing a dog. You get washed in what they're saying, and then you flap off what just doesn't stick because it doesn't suit you. but keep what you know really needs to be done. Be open to these people. Be open to when you ask for the feedback. And and if you can find a mentor is a good thing. I was lucky enough that I toured long enough with Bill Lepp and Andy Irwin. I'm not name dropping because no one here probably even knows who they are. Um, and we would constantly give feedback, and it was heartless. I mean, you would go to bed kind of thinking, jerks, because you just got off stage and they're ripping you apart. Vice versa. We did it to each other, but we loved each other. And so, you get past that. But when someone's cutting on your baby, you're just like, but then we would take it, and they were right. I was right. All three of us were right when we gave our critique. But man, it's painful. It's painful. Find mentors that are not going to be nice.
I would agree with that.
As long as you keep agreeing with me, we're going to always be friends.
That's what I've heard.
Oh, great. Well, Simon, what time does this end?
True.
I have to shower.
Oh, is that what the smell is?
How long? I don't know how long does this go. Because I could.
Well, we just go until we're done.
Oh,
I mean,
I'm
we
good with that. I could stay all
Okay.
day. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Me too. I actually got to go. Well, I got to prep for something else. But yes, we can go for a bit longer. So yeah, one of the things that it took me a while when people would say that's crap. I'd be like, no, it's not. And that was with my writing, right? And then I got into a writers group, and I was like, oh yeah, it really is. And I'll be like, that's a really good thing to know.
Right.
The thing about any kind of true craft, you have to get rid of your ego, because if you don't let go of your ego, you'll never be good at your craft. Because you won't be doing it for the craft, you'll be doing it for yourself, and then I think the craft cannot go through. And that's just my opinion.
I agree. I have to say, I'm gonna add to that, if that's okay.
Mhm.
I don't know if you have to let it go. I think that you need to put it in its rightful place. Because when you walk out on a stage with 1,000 people sitting there who's paid to see you perform, you've got to have the slightest of ego to have the balls to walk out. It is when you are performing to an audience, or you know what, let's change it. When there's 20 people show up for your gig and you're
5.
like crazy and you have a new piece
Yeah.
that you're going to do, there has to be a tiny bit of ego that you think, I can do this. I've got this.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I'm talking about when you're listening to criticism and when you're learning and crafting the story.
put
I
it in
mean,
its rightful place.
yeah, you can't be a performer without having a bit of an ego.
Yeah.
Norman disagrees though. He says better friends. I'm not sure what he's Norman, if you're still here, can you elaborate on what you're saying there?
What did he say?
Well, Kristen posted, allow yourself to ask for that mentor. Some of us, me, would stop ourselves in our self-talk. Oh gosh, I don't want to bother them, or who I am to ask. Oh, who am I to ask, and so for help. There is that, because I don't know if that's what Norman's disagreeing with. And self-doubt is a killer, but if it is a killer, I would agree with that.
I had someone say to me once, you shouldn't ask someone to be your mentor. If someone's going to mentor you, they'll come to you. I disagree with that. If there's somebody you really admire, to ask them to mentor you, but give them an out in case they don't want to, because you may just radically suck. But seriously, you should always give that person an easy out when you ask them. But yeah, I disagree with that person when they said that to me. I didn't tell them that, but I would have missed out on 2 amazing mentors if I wouldn't have went to them very humbly, hat in hand, almost groveling, saying, look, I've gotten here. I need to learn this, and you know this. Would you be willing to? And it can look like whatever you want. I don't care if it's once a month. I don't care if it's twice a year. Just give me some time and be willing to pay, because some mentors need pay. I didn't have to on either of those, but you never know what their situation is or what their time is. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, there's. Yeah, I would. Well, that's the difference between mentoring and coaching, I think.
Yeah, it is.
So Norman did elaborate. He said, "Friends allow disagreement to see different perspectives." So I think friends can be. If this is what we're talking about,
Yeah.
again, I'm not 100% sure. But if you're using a friend for, like, what did you think of that story? Sometimes I think
Oh, I see what he's
friends
saying. Right.
friends can help, but I also think that they don't necessarily know our craft.
Well, I
So
think, I think I know what he means because there have been
okay.
times after the show
Hmm.
where we're sitting and we're having a beer and playing Risk or Monopoly or whatever we're playing, because that's what we did on tour, where
Hmm.
there's a great discourse of disagreement on how something was done, but out of that comes
Oh,
perfect.
right.
Because with friends, you're more, if I don't know, like, okay, so Simon, I know you, but I don't know you, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
if I'm coming to you and saying, I want your feedback, I'm going to listen and probably not disagree too much if I kind of, think you're it. And whereas with my friends, we'll be like, no, I just totally disagree. Well, no, you got to understand that blank, blank, blank. Well, what if that disagreement
Yeah.
that can sharpen the sword of sorts. So I agree with him on that. Friends, that discourse with friends, I think can be good. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good
You
idea.
think that's what he's saying? Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you, Norm. I appreciate your yes. Rachel Hedman says that is what I think Norm meant. People honest with each other and building up and improving. Yeah. And Tony, again, Tony. You must know Tony then. Where did I go?
I know Tony Toledo only by name and I follow him on Facebook. I've never gotten to work with him, but I hear things about him.
Oh, Tony's brilliant.
Hmm.
He's an amazing storyteller, right? And
Yeah.
B, he is like this big giant teddy bear with this loudest voice that you've ever imagined. He doesn't need a microphone or a megaphone. He can stop people at half a mile away.
Really. I don't think Tony and I have ever worked together.
No, he's great. And
Yeah.
kids love him.
We may
You
have
know,
been at
like
a festival together, but not on the same stage. That happens a lot where you see people and you pass them.
yeah. So Tony's like his friends Alicia and Merrill always give him honest feedback when he's running a new story past their ears. I think I need a thick skin sometimes. 99% of the time, their critique is spot on.
Yeah, I agree with that. It hurts
It does. It can do. For sure.
because what we're creating so comes from the internal self.
Right.
Such a
I mean,
tender place where there is no skin.
right.
You know?
And Jerry Callahan has a wonderful way of putting it. He says that when we create a story, it's like a baby.
Yeah.
And when you've got this baby sitting there and it's swaddling clothes, you don't say, "Get up and run! Come on! Why aren't you running? Why aren't you running?" Right? You just
Right.
don't do that to a baby. You have to
Mhm.
nurture it before it starts to walk, and then you've got to nurture it some more before it starts to run.
Right.
I
Right.
think that there's a lot of truth in that.
And I think that also denotes at what time you ask for critiquing. When I
Yes. Yeah.
write something, if I'm working on a song, my husband, who is just genius on the guitar, will come in and go, "Hey, I'm hearing you. Maybe you should." Well, he has learned not to do that. When I'm in the creating process of giving
Hmm.
birth to that baby, that is not the time to tell me how to push. Just let me get it out
Yes.
or I'll rip your face off,
Yeah.
right? No. And but he's learned he needs to wait till I have it out and I let it alone for a little till I'm somewhat detached. Then I'm like, come on, get in
Yeah.
here with me. But I gotta just get the bones of it out. And so yeah, there's a time for that.
There is totally a time for that. I totally agree. When my best friend Billy in the UK, we used to write songs together. He was the musician and I was the wordsmith. Uh, and I would sometimes have ideas of like how the music would go. And so I would be like, "This is kind of like da 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 da," and he'd be like, "You mean this?" And he'd play something really good, and I'd be like, "Yeah, right,
That's exactly what I meant.
right." That's exactly what I meant. And in fact, the music on my forthcoming CD, A Flight of Stories, it was the same thing. I had this idea for this, and I was going to mention this earlier. My brother and I, when we were kids, we both were like very much into like heavy rock and blues music. And when any Irish or Celtic music came on, Scottish music, we used to call it twiddly dee music. But
And look at you now.
I know, playing a baron and everything. But I was driving and this tune came into my head, and I got hit the voice recorder thing, and I'm like, this is how it sounds like. So I sent this piece of tape, as it were, this sound bite of me going diddly dee 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 with this car noise in the background. And when we got together to record the music, my colleague Rick said, "Is this what you meant?" And I was like, "Yes, that's exactly what I meant."
You know, when I did the Ballad of Ronnie Calloway, I wrote all the songs on it except one. Mikey wrote it, Michael Reno, Harrell, and the musicians were so stellar that when we got together to go over the music, because I did it at the Cabaret at National, I would just strum the chords, and I would say, now in this part I want like this kind of sound, and this. I remember one song where I sing like I'm the prostitute. I'm the lady of the night, right? It's a character in there. Her name's Mimosa. And I told the violinist, fiddle player, rather, she does more fiddle. I said I want it to sound like dirty lingerie. and she knew.
Dirty lingerie, or just dirty lingerie?
Dirty lingerie. And yeah, I know. And she nailed it. She knew what I meant. And that's how I told them what I wanted. I was like, now here, I want it to feel like horses' hooves beating on a hill as they rise up over. I said, because in the story, this is what's happening. And I'm not kidding you. They nailed it every time. And we did the songs twice in that whole, 2 times in the whole process of creating that album, and then did it live at National and recorded it. They were some stellar musicians, though, man. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah. I try to find. I have friends who are amazing musicians, and it's just by luck that that they're my friends.
I know. I feel that way about many people that are my friends. I'll even ask them, "Why are you here?" Because I am a horrible human being, right?
I say the same thing.
Yeah, I don't remember birthdays. I don't like to talk on the phone. I am self-absorbed in whatever I'm creating at the moment, and nothing else is better than what I'm creating. I am horrible, but they tell me they like me because I know I'm horrible.
Well, maybe that's what. Yeah,
it's a win-win.
I'm horrible too. Yeah. I think if you're honest about your, if one is honest about one's self crap.
Yes. I'm an open book. If you want to see all of it, I'll just tell you, because
no, I'm good. I'm good.
I'm good. Sooner, yeah, you're gonna find out sooner or later. So if I just tell you up front, we're okay. So, all right.
We should probably go, because I don't want people to miss their appointments or anything else. I don't want to take up. Kim, thanks so much indeed for spending an hour and a half with me. And
totally my pleasure.
A lot of fun. I'm glad that we did this. It was.
I want everyone to know that I asked to be here. He didn't come.
She
to
did.
Me. I'm like, Simon, you're fun. I know enough about you. You're fun. Your show, I want to be on it and talk to you. So, Simon, thanks for letting me be so brazen as to invite myself to your show.
It's okay.
So, yeah.
And I'll be honest with our listeners. What did I say? Why don't you tell them what I said?
I forget.
I forget. I said, we don't know each other very well. Let's have a chat on the phone first to see if we can do it.
Did we have a chat?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, okay. I don't remember anything. See,
COVID 2020.
Yeah, I'm serious. COVID 20. Isn't it the truth?
Yeah,
my garden has saved me. Truly, my garden. My garden was my savior this year. And I mean that. So, anyways, I'm sorry I didn't remember. I'm horrible. See, I'm a horrible friend. I remember nothing. But I knew that I liked you. And
you're a wonderful guest. So that's all that matters.
I'm happy that we had some stellar. I mean, everyone watching was stellar. But boy, I'll tell you, what an honor to have some of those people even interested in a minute of anything I'd have to say.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. I mean,
Yeah.
Mark Johnson, it's Heather Forrest. It's like, why would Heather come and see me do do a chit chat? It's like she's like this goddess of story. It's like
Oh,
I'm
one time
honored, honored.
in a hotel breakfast eating time,
Uh,
I was sitting with Willie Claflin and Bill Harley, and I forget there was someone else there. And Harley said, "So Kim, what's next for you?" And I was like, "Well, my goal is to ba da 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 da." And he looked at me and goes, "I just meant where are you going next?" But I guess to this day, the people that I really adore, like Jay O'Callahan, who I love.
yes.
I mean, we've hung out. I've just, it shouldn't still be this way. I still have the stars in my eyes because he creates magic no matter
Well, who
how
doesn't
long
have
I'm with
stars in
him.
their eyes about Jay? I mean,
Yeah. I
he's
still
one of the
get,
true magical people.
he, thank you. I feel like he opened up the box in a whole new world for me, but I still get fangirl over certain people. Some
Hmm.
not so much because I've seen them in their underwear, just being nasty and burning food and stuff like that. But we won't say who that is. So,
Not
anyways,
Bill Lepp,
it,
surely.
no. It,
I could
uh,
just imagine Bill Lepp burning food in his underwear. That's all.
I
I don't
added
know
underwear
why
to
I can
make it
see that.
interesting. It was
It's kind of scary that I can see that, but
yeah. I've only seen one teller in their underwear because they were ironing their pants and we were in a house together, a bunch of us. And I got my coffee and walked in. I was like, "Oh, hello," and they're like, "Hello," and I'm like, "All right, I'm gonna exit." So, but anyways, all right, I'm out. I'm
all
good.
right. Take care, everyone. Thanks for being here. Love you all. We'll be back next week. See ya.
Do I exit out now?